What is going on, my friend? Welcome back to the podcast Domination Show. In this episode, you're going to hear my friend Lucas Rubix and I talk about how to start, grow, and monetize a podcast and a lot of other cool things. This is actually a replay episode from an episode or an interview we did on the Coach's Corner podcast, so be sure to check that out, that podcast out, because he's got some amazing guests over there, such as Robert Greene, Elena Cardone, and many, many others. So enjoy this episode. Go show Lucas some love over at the Coach's Corner, and I'll catch you later. Enjoy. So how do you start a successful podcast that allows you to build your name online, build your network, and also helps you bring in leads, customers, and generate a huge audience that is going to love you and love the content you put out? That's the question we aim to solve on this podcast, the Podcast Domination Show. And my goal is to help you figure out what works in growing and monetizing a show and help you implement those strategies in your show today. My name is Luis Diaz. I am pumped to have you here on the Podcast Domination Show. So let's get into today's episode.
Welcome to episode 75 of the Coach's Corner podcast. Today we're talking about podcasts, which is sort of funny because we're on a podcast, but there's been so much hype, so much attention put on podcasts, and I'll talk about a Forbes article I just read, and I actually want to ask your opinion on it. But today we got Luis R. Diaz. He's got over 38 podcast launches in the past year, over 2.4 million downloads, which I'm sure is well past that now.
Yeah, a little bit.
Under his belt, producer, podcaster, creator of the Domination System, consultant, author of How to Get Your First 100,000 Downloads in 100 Days. I was going through your testimonials, and you've helped us with our podcast as well, and you've got some big names, big people behind you. So when it comes to podcasting, anything we talk about, I highly recommend that you take Lewis's advice. What's going on, Lewis?
Dude, Lucas, it's been a while, man. Thank you for the intro. I really appreciate that, man. I think we just went over my my mishap yesterday, which was kind of funny, but I think it's something that happens to all of us.
Yeah, tell us about that story. So you got flown out.
It was an amazing experience, dude. Yeah, we had an amazing interview with a good client of mine, and flown out there 2 days, and the file crashed. So the file got corrupted, and it was like, oh my god, like we just flew out for a whole day to this,
video
spent a lot of money.
Everything.
Dude, yeah. So, but it happens, and it's just part of the game. I think I haven't talked to anybody who hasn't had that problem, so I'm totally cool with it. We'll do it again. Well, but I'm pumped to be here, dude. And
I appreciate that. That like. We generally just see the polished podcast. We see your book. We see the $2.8 million downloads. Dude, I'm the king. I know everything about podcasts. And we still, because I know we recorded this 2 months ago, and that file got lost as well. And that's happened to me once or twice with like Elena Cardone, which was a bummer because I'm like, damn, like this is good video. It got lost. So I get it. Appreciate the honesty. I read something and I wanted to pick your brain on it really, really quick here. But podcasting is the future of storytelling. There was an article on that. Podcasting is the future of storytelling. Why is podcasting getting so much attention? Why are so many people talking about it? Why are so many podcasts starting? And what's going on with podcasting? Why podcast?
Right. It's a great question. And I think it goes into if you look at how people are consuming content today, like nobody's sitting in front of the TV at 6 p.m. with their family anymore. Like very few people, unfortunately, are sitting together with their family for dinner. Like we're always on the go. We're always on the move. Our cars are now like the Teslas. They have built-in stations for podcasts. They've got all this technology now. Nobody's really sitting still anymore. And we're always on the go. So podcasting is a great medium that allows us to take the story narrative and the storytelling and all the great content on the go with us, as opposed to sitting in front of a screen. Like I forget where I was at the other day. They asked like, so who goes on Facebook on their desktop anymore? And like me and somebody else was like, out of like a bunch of people were like the only people who raised their hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody's on their phone. They're in their car. They're at the gym. They're at work. So the medium really fits how we're consuming content these days. And that's why I believe personally the uptick in so much consumption has really gone up these days, and even ad revenue dollars. Like it's going to hit $1 billion pretty soon. The ad revenue, or ad spend inside of podcasting. So it's an interesting time.
So you really go where the people are.
Yeah, Yeah,
Put your stuff in front of
exactly.
where people are. So how is it different than, I do want to get into your story, but this is just fascinating to me. How is it different, or what mental shift or what mindset shift does it take? So if you're already a content creator, if you're creating content on maybe YouTube, or maybe you're listening and you're doing something on Instagram and doing short form or even long form posts on Facebook, and you're like, I
Right.
want to do Medium, or I want to do podcasting. Is there like a bit of a shift on how you approach the storytelling or the side of podcasting? Maybe some advice on that?
Yeah, sure. So when I started practicing podcast. I'll share how I started
Yeah.
practicing and getting into the medium of like, okay, I got to get good at this, because like if you suck at anything, you're just not going to go anywhere. Like just because you're on podcasting doesn't mean you're good. So one of the things I did early on to really practice this was that I memorized and I studied guys like Michael Stelzner, who's an amazing storyteller and an amazing interviewer. And I'm about to say Lucas Rubix. You're really good too, but I didn't know about you at the time. And Tim Ferriss. So I looked at, and I did a post about this on my Facebook, basically how to navigate an interview, like certain like scripts you can use to pause someone, to make them rewind. And I started to study how those two guys specifically did interviews, and also how they told stories, even how they did their intros. Like what did they do at the beginning of the intro? A lot of times those guys, what they're doing for someone who's practicing on getting good at podcasting, is something we were going over with our clients yesterday. Is like at the beginning of the episode, it's just like a sales page. You've got to hook the listener within the first 30 seconds, or else they're gone. Like I'm not going to invest 45 minutes of my time into your podcast if I know it sucks, or if I don't know it's good. Like it's like, it may be good, it may not be, but I'm not going to waste 45 minutes to find out.
Right. So something along the lines of, so basically you're calling me out. So basically, hey, welcome to the episode. If podcasting is on your radar, if you want to make more revenue, more sales, get more clients, get more customers, grow your business, see more growth, see more scale, and build relationships with your clients, podcasting is the place to be. In today's show, we got Lewis. So yeah, good tip. I love that. I mean, it's
you're
we all
study.
know it. We just sometimes are just like, yep.
Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes podcasters make is that they think it's just about the content.
Yeah.
And yes, it is, but no one will ever get to your content if you don't hook them and sell them at the top.
100%.
Meaning, I've got to tell you, hey, here's what the 3 things you're going to learn today. Here's why you should stick around. I know it's 45 minutes, but here's what you're going to get at the end of the show. 100%. Boom, boom, boom. So another guy I'd throw out there, Noah Kagan's a really good one too, to study. If you listen to his intros, like he just says, "What's up, people? Like, here are 3 things you're going to learn today." Boom, 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 and then he gets right into it.
Simple.
So one piece of advice is like study those guys and how they do their introductions, how they interview, and then also I would study really good copywriting, get like copywriting books, because it's the same storytelling format, the same thing that gets attention that you can use in a written format, but also on podcasting. So,
yeah, a question came up yesterday of like what to outsource, and everyone was trying to outsource their copy, and I was just like, man, speaking, I think arguably I'd say is one of the most important skills you can learn if you're going to sell something. How to speak, how to communicate. Yeah. And if you want to sell stuff online, you're really just speaking through text copywriting, and you can, but I highly recommend not outsourcing. That'd be like having a presentation on stage, but just having someone else do it for you. Learn how to write, learn how to write copy, learn how to speak, learn how to sell, learn how to persuade, influence. So I love that. And you said model the greats, which modeling I think is one of the fastest way to get there, which is why we worked with you. I'm just like, Lewis, he's got 30 million downloads. I've got 20,000. Let's learn from Lewis, model or learn from people.
Right. I wish I had 30 million downloads, but yeah.
You've been a part of 30 million downloads.
Yeah, exactly. Been a part of a lot. Yeah.
So how'd you get into podcasting? So I know you had your fitness business, you had a business that was growing, and I think you started listening to a podcast. I don't want to make the story up, but you saw potential in a podcast and you started using it yourself.
Oh yeah, dudes. This is crazy. So this was 2014. I was in college. I had just broken up with my ex-girlfriend with 4 years. I had just realized the degree I was going down, like the path I was studying, was horrible. I was like, this is not what I want to do.
What was it?
It was hospitality.
Okay. I think a lot of people listening relate to this. They're just like, dude, I'm doing something, but I'm not really wanting to do it. Why am I doing it?
Yeah, totally. And that's where I was like, this really sucks. And I dove into the gym initially because I love working out, love training, was an athlete, started training people for money, like personal training in a gym. And I also started a t-shirt business, funny enough, in college in my garage.
Cool.
And
What kind of t-shirts?
gym t-shirts. So
Okay.
like like stringers and like
Cool.
tank
Cool.
tops and stuff. So
Cool.
um, and a buddy of mine saw my marketing. He too at the same time was starting a business, and he was actually a really fast study. And he sent me a link one day because this is like one of my most brutally honest friends. Like everyone's got one of those guys who just like or gals who's like they're a straight shooter. Gino was like this to me. He was like, dude, your marketing is really bad. Check out this podcast. It'll help you.
This is bad. It's bad.
Yeah, it's a straight up, like out of the
Sucks.
blue one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Good.
funny.
Good.
And yeah, I needed it. And it was a podcast link, and I had no idea what a podcast was. This was 2014, so they were still kind of new. And I had being in college, I was like more into like school and books and YouTube, and dove into that. And I realized off the bat that like this is really, really good content, and this is really interesting stuff. And I'm like, why? How is this free? I'm like, this is crazy. And I just dove in like as a student would, and just for 2 years I just binged on podcasts and kind of learned like the online marketing game a little bit. So that was kind of my early beginnings from 2014 to 2016.
And so what I'm getting from that is I think a lot of people consume information, consume knowledge, consume podcasts, but never do anything with it. It sounded like
Right.
you were not just a consumer; you were literally studying it. You were probably taking notes, whether they were mentally or actually physically, but you were studying it, and then you went to go apply it, which is what I highly recommend. We live in such like a consumer information age. I'm so passionate about this topic because we know more than we've ever known, and we're fucking up more than we ever fucked up. We're not doing anything. You literally pick one or two podcasts or pick those channels that you want to listen to, and don't consume it, learn it, use it,
Right.
apply it. So you're going through this
Right.
process, you're learning your stuff, you're realizing the potential of podcasts, your mind is blown that it's free. Why aren't these people charging for it? And so what happened next?
So funny enough, one of the guys who I was listening to, he lived near me in Florida, and I didn't realize this. And I realized he mentioned it on a podcast. So then this was Scott Ardella. He was like now like 45 minutes away from where I lived in Florida, and he mentioned it. And so I reached out to him like on his website. I'm like, hey, like, can I just hang out with you, like spend time with you for like 30 minutes one day? I won't bother you. I'd love to help you with the podcast. And he was a very early mentor of mine. He was also like a insurance rep on the side, but he had a really successful podcast. So I just kind of learned under his wing, like about marketing and sales and online personal training. And he's the one who kind of, when I went out to say like I wanted to start a podcast, he sent me like the course I had to learn and everything else. So I think I learned off like an $11 course.
Cool.
And I literally just took that course, launched the podcast, and then got somewhat successful at it in 2016. There wasn't much competition, so I definitely realized that.
Okay, well, so what was the drive though? So you're
yeah.
doing this thing, but what's this burning thing inside you to make you want to sit there, consume $11 courses, learn this stuff? Because I see this all the time as someone with no resources, and I'm putting my hands up to make quotation marks, but very few resources, gets resourceful and does something with it. And then I see so many people who have the golden spoon, or they just have it good, and they say they're hungry, and they have $5,000 courses available to them. They have the best mentors. They go to Tony Robbins' $10,000 workshops, and they're still doing fuck all. What was like? What was that burning thing inside you?
Oh, simple, dude. It was this one word: discomfort. I was not comfortable. I hated where I was as a person. I had just lost a girl I wanted to marry, but like at that point, I realized I'm like, man, like I have a lot to work on personally, as a man, as a just a human being. I have a lot to freaking work on here, and that drove me because that discomfort was like, I'm not happy with what the person I see in the mirror. Yeah. So I wanted to change. So that's what the gym came out of. That's where I started working out. And then I really wanted to just get better and make money and be a man who can stand on his own 2 feet, right? So that was the drive behind wanting to start my own business, start my own podcast, go online. So that was really and truly the kind of the burning passion as to why I sought out mentors, drove all over the place, paid money to fly places, did things I couldn't afford.
Pain is a beautiful teacher.
Yeah, oh yeah,
the best.
Only the ultimate teacher.
Good. So you're learning this stuff. You're going through this pain. You're making a transformation. You're building the podcast. You're consuming. You're building a business. What came after that, or is everything else just like, hey, now we see growth?
Oh, no, dude, no. So 2016 launched the podcast. The first one failed.
Yep.
I had to tell people that. I failed the first one because I didn't realize that recording the stuff is only about 20 or 30% of your actual activities. Everything else is the marketing, the promotion, the planning, the scheduling, the building, the plan, building content. So I didn't realize that coming on. So I actually had to really dig deep and figure out like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I have to systematize it. So I killed the first one, started another one. And this time, mind you, I was still talking about health and fitness, so I was still trying to get online clients. But the second one was successful, and the reason why it was is because I took the perspective of not positioning it around myself, but positioning it around what the end user wants. So the second one was called Ask the Ab Guy.
What was the first one called?
It was High Performance Habits, which was just me interviewing a bunch of people who were smarter than me.
Great.
Which is cool, but it's great, and people do it, and they make it successful with it. But much more niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Ask the Ab
There's
Guy.
two things that we skimmed over there, but there was narrowing down or giving the solution or being, and then you said one thing right before that. I just don't want people skimming over that was systemizing or not doing the randomness of it. There has to be some form of a system or some planning to it instead of just random ass content, which we all fall into, guilty as charged at times. But planning, a little bit of planning is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
And that was the thing. I'm like, this is great if you have a system for it, but if you don't, it's complete chaos and you cannot grow it, scale it. You hate it because you realize after I do this interview, I've got to edit this. I've got to do the show notes. I've got to do all the other stuff to promote it. It's a lot of work. So,
I feel that. Cool.
So that was a failure. The first one. Second one, Ask the Ab Guy. I'm like, oh my God, let's just talk about how to get 6-packs for males who are overweight. And it worked. I started making $200-$400 per month from just having clients or people who are listening. I had a little call to action at the end.
Yep.
And it said like, hey, if you want to just dive into the number one problem on your, in your health and fitness on it, like a 15-minute call, just email me. So through that, I started booking one-on-one coaching clients online. So I built my little coaching business through my podcast.
Great.
And that was a couple $100 every month. I was happy with that. And I realized that this thing could actually, if you scaled it and you took it seriously, you could really do a lot with it.
So cool. So cool. So just to shift gears into a little bit of the tactical stuff.
Sure.
Who should and who should not start a podcast? So if you're listening right now, maybe you're just getting into coaching, or maybe you're just getting into building your business, or maybe you're thinking about getting into it, or maybe you already have a successful business. Does that create, is that a factor into should you start or should you not start a podcast? Or is it a little bit more like, is this an actual good medium for me? Am I committed to the long term of my podcast?
Long term. Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, number one, I talked about this yesterday on another show with my client, but one of the things that came up was, do you have a validated offer? Like, have you sold your offer, your coaching package before and validated that it gets results for people? That's like one of the biggest things you have. It's like, if you don't have that, then a podcast right now is probably not for you unless you're doing it as a hobby, which is a totally different conversation.
So what about just because I had someone ask me this question, and there's a few ways to answer it, but let's say you want to build a platform before you launch something. So you want to start building a platform. You know your topic. Let's say you're a high performance coach, and you're really good at what you do. You really know your stuff, but maybe you just worked with some clients one-on-one, but now you want to start building an audience because you're thinking about creating a product or a course in the future. You want to start creating that audience. Do you think that's a little premature to start a podcast, or is that, as long as you have that long-term tactical sort of strategy, is it a good idea?
I think if you have the right mindset coming in, I think it's a good idea. So you could start like that, and that scenario you just said, they could totally start a podcast, but they have to be okay with the fact that this is a 2, 3, 4 year project.
Cool.
And you're not going to get momentum within the first year. Like, expect it to suck.
Cool.
If you probably at this point, I'm guessing they don't have the resources to outsource a lot of it. So maybe you can hire a VA to help some of the stuff, but you can use, like, since the offer is validated, they're already successful.
Right.
They can do it, but like it's not going to blow up.
Right.
Unless you're getting on Lewis Howes's podcast and then he's giving you a shout out.
Right.
So you have to play the long game, but if you do, it'll be definitely way, way more successful.
Cool.
So they can. Yeah.
So if someone has an offer, you're selling a course or a program, or it's validated and it's getting good results, and you've got some momentum, and you've got some resources, your journey will be a lot easier in the podcasting world.
Totally. Yeah. I recommend everyone, like me, I started doing everything. Like my agency now, it's like I've done every one of those positions myself at one point for clients.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know inside and out kind of the details there.
Yeah.
So I recommend everyone starting off first 10 episodes, do it yourself, and then you can hire someone out and kind of take it off your shoulders.
Cool. So what about okay, so someone's listening to this podcast and say, you know what, I could start a podcast, or it kind of sounds like I'm in a place to start a podcast. What's and this is such a loaded question, so I'm sure we could talk about 5 hours for this. I'm going to put links for Lewis's stuff below, because you got your own podcast and you've got a ton of resources. I think you blog and stuff as well. I think I saw a lot of articles. You got a book, so make sure you consume Lewis's stuff. We got 30 minutes to cover 60 years of content here. But what's the best way to start? So someone wants to start, they don't have the podcast yet, but they've got content ideas, they've been creating content, they're good at what they do, and they have an offer that's validated, or they're doing one-on-one coaching and they want more one-on-one clients. They're good at what they do. They want to start a podcast. Right. What are they starting? And maybe we'll get away from the tactical, like buy this equipment and do this, because that's on your blog and your podcast for sure. But sort of the bigger steps.
Sure. So this is good. So step one is what I call blueprinting. So you're going to want to look at a couple things. You're going to want to look at like who your audience is, like who exactly am I serving? So the reason why the Ask the Ab Guy podcast was so successful, and I literally still get reviews and downloads from it today, and haven't touched it in a year, is because I was so damn niche with the audience. It's males 30 to 50. They want to lose weight. They're in a situation where they're having trouble because they're working too much. So get really damn narrow on the audience. Number two, figure out where they're at online, because I can guarantee you there's podcasts out there that are already serving that audience. So look at what they're doing, look at what's working for them. So who they are, where they're at online, and then what is going to make you very different and make your offer. Because a podcast is a product, essentially. It essentially is a product that is free. So how is your offer, i.e. the podcast, going to be different from what's already out there? And this can be you can do a lot of different things here. You can do a different show format. You can do a different questions you ask. You can give away stuff. You can bring on people who need help and kind of coach them on the spot.
Cool.
Which is, for a lot of coaches, what I recommend as a very cool ninja lead gen tool.
Cool.
So that's really step one, blueprinting that out, and then figuring out also a lot of mistakes are made here with the strategy. It's like, so when they listen to the podcast, what happens next? Where do you send them? And what's that one high value place that you can send them that's going to be a great benefit for you and them? And typically I say a Facebook group. Like, you've got an amazing Facebook group, Lucas. So I would be sending my traffic there. And then I would say, hey, like, just make sure you, on the entry form, you link, you say, oh, I listen to the podcast, and we'll give you a free gift. Right. So all the podcast listeners who are listening to this, like, go to the group, enter podcast, and my team will give you a free gift that we're not giving anyone else.
I like that.
So like, you're getting them into your circle, and you can retarget them with ads, and they're now getting incentivized in a gift. This could be like a free video training, right? So that could be something that's super high value. So those are the key pieces in blueprinting that out. So that's like step one.
Cool. So, and there's another side to this too, and maybe it's worth discussing, is if someone, because I know you do both sides of this, but if someone is like, oh wait, I'm not ready to start my podcast, there's still the potential or the vehicle, the avenue of getting on shows, so leveraging other people's podcasts to start, building some traffic, or even just start practicing interviews and getting your, positioning yourself as an expert, I guess, in a way. Right.
So there's a number of places you can go online right now. I'll name a few. That basically you can sign up as a guest. You can go in there and set up a profile, and then people can, like, if you're a fit for their show, they'll reach out to you and you guys can get on a podcast.
Cool.
So the first one is called spotaguest.com. spotaguest.com, and it's like a little private community. It's free. You can go in there, set up a profile, and you can talk to people who have podcasts there, and you can see what they're looking for, and you can actually get on their show if you're a fit. So that's number one. Number two is called listennotes.com, which is a simple one that I call it like the Craigslist of podcasting, because there's almost like a Craigslist in there. If you click on their classified section, they'll have like a whole bunch of lists of people or shows that are looking for specific things. And some of those are podcasts.
Cool.
So that's number two. And then the last one is a place called podcastguests.com. And that's a place where it's like an email list. So you can subscribe to the newsletter and they will send you out a list of podcasters who are looking for guests as well.
Cool.
So
cool.
Those are kind of like the free spaces. Yeah, but that's definitely a big thing.
We'll put those notes below. I think it's really cool when it's like, I mean, I like the idea that someone introduces you on their podcast and you instantly can use those little snippets of content to position yourself as like, hey, I got interviewed, which just gives a little extra level of positioning. At the end of the day, this marketing can be a bit of a game. I'm not saying that go scam people if you're not good, pretend you're good. But if you're good, it just gives you another layer of credibility of like, I get interviewed on shows. What's up?
Totally. Exactly. Yeah. It's what it is like humans look for signs for safety. At the end of the day, credibility means safety. It means this person's proven, they're vetted, the other people have tried them, and I'm not going to lose my money or lose my shirt if I go with this person, if I work with this person, right? So I look at credibility as trust factors. If you've been a writer on Forbes and you're trusted by Forbes, people look at you as a trustworthy source of information.
100%.
So, and online these days, that's like the hardest thing to really convey because everybody's selling podcasting. I know 20 other guys who do what I do.
Yeah.
The question is, who do you trust is going to get you results?
And the funniest thing is, I want to add one thing because I get on a lot of calls. And yesterday someone said, I've been looking for an online coach, and I was looking at other people, but I think all their testimonials were fake and they just looked like scammers. I know some of the people they were talking about, and they do a really good job. Their message just doesn't resonate with this person. And I laughed at myself because I'm sure people look at your stuff, my stuff, and anyone's stuff being like, scam, when you're like a value delivering human being. So of course, it is a race or it's a game to create that credibility, but there's still going to be people who don't. So you said a big thing on positioning. I don't think you used that word, but Google positioning and research positioning. There's a book called Positioning. I think that's by Dan, whatever his name is. Learn that because it also helps you with credibility. But
big time. In positioning your podcast, like Lucas, you have a great friggin' podcast. People don't know how successful the Coach's Corner has been.
Right.
The guests you get on, the rankings you have. So even when you're going out to podcasters and like, hey, like I have a top 200 business podcast in the US and Canada, two of the biggest markets there are in the world. So it's like that's no small feat because there's over 800,000 podcasts live now, or not live, but like over 800,000 podcasts in the Apple iTunes directory. So to be in the top 200, you're in the 0.00001%.
Well, you've definitely been helping with that. So I won't take all the credit. And Sarah's been such a monumental
she's amazing.
Help with that. But yeah. Cool. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Okay, I want to ask. This can be you. This can be someone you know. You don't have to say their name. But what's like a big fail, an embarrassing fail, or something that you were just like, whoa, that sucks.
Yeah.
Maybe it's humorous. Maybe it's whatever that is. Someone can either learn from or try to avoid.
So this is going back to the whole scammer thing with the fake testimonials. So a couple of weeks ago, I have a free plus shipping book. So basically, it's free, but you pay for shipping, right?
Right.
Like most people, I had the funniest email come through my inbox. It was like, "You, sir, are a scammer." It's because I had my link, my free PDF, not free PDF, my free plus shipping link on my Instagram bio, and it was like this guy. I forget what country. I think he was from Australia, but he was just like, "You say your book is free, and your book is $17. Like it's you have to pay for shipping, guy." But he was just bad mouthing me throughout this whole email.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. I just smile and laugh. I'm like,
that holds
so
a lot of people back. That holds a lot of people back
Yeah.
from seeing. I sent an email yesterday. I had 12 responses. Like, I don't know why you're on my email list if you're going to call me like a dickhead and a freaking I hope you die. I get that stuff more and more as the months pass by. And I'm just like, where do these people come from? But I guess that's a price you pay for building an audience at the same time. And so a lot of people are afraid of getting criticized. And your mindset, your mental attitude towards it was, this is funny, this is humorous. And some people get destroyed by it, which they shouldn't. It's the name of the game. I guess it's part of growing something where you're the expert, I guess.
It's the cost you put for putting yourself out online.
It is, 100%.
It's and it comes with the territory. I laughed. I felt a little taken back by it, totally. But then I sat back and laughed and realized that like I've got friends who are spending $200,000 on ads a week, and they trust me, they get some bad comments.
Yeah. It does hurt because you are so, and I know you are because you've over delivered for us. I'm sure you over deliver for everyone. Of just like you literally are like, how can I serve you? And you wake up every day, like everyone probably listening to this, how can I serve at my highest level? And you create free content, and then people consume your free. I always say this: don't fuck with free. But if someone fucks with free, like if you're gonna leave me a comment saying how this piece of content wasted your time, I'm just like, dude, it's free. Like, what do you want from me? It's free.
Keep scrolling, yeah.
Keep scrolling. I love that. But we need those people, and they move the mission forward. One piece of advice I want to kind of end it on this, whether that's personal, business, professional, or anything else in between that you wish you could have told your 20-year-old self, your 18-year-old self 5 years ago, maybe when you were going through the big crisis of, losing that relationship and realizing that you had a lot of growth to do as a man and as a human. What would that be kind of written on the title cover of your book if you were to leave something behind?
Oh man, I think the reason why I'm here is because, and I've still got a long way to go, just like everybody. But I can 100% dedicate my success to masterminds and mentorship from people who have been there before. Had I not spent, and I've spent probably over $200,000 on my personal education after college, and like most people, and it's like it's just a common thread. And it's like when you get around people who've done the shit you're trying to do before, it just makes things easier because you're not sitting there doubting every question and every step you make. I mean, there are a few anomalies. Like I know like John Goodman, who's a former podcast guest here, amazing guy. I had the opportunity to launch his podcast a couple months ago. He's the anomaly. Like he's the guy who can read books and he'll speak in masterminds, but he doesn't go to them.
Yeah.
But he still seeks counsel from people all the time.
100%.
So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like that's the common thread. And if you're afraid to spend 2, 3, 4, hell, I spent $10,000 on a coach in one day. And if you're afraid to spend that, then it's going to be really hard to grow. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's going to be damn hard to grow.
I 100%
so that's
agree. It was that's spark for me
success.
as well. Like that first spark where I was like, you know what, maybe I'll spend some money because nothing else is working. And when I did that, I was like, whoa, this is ridiculous. You do have to approach those things with a mind. Like we all know brilliant people who also, there'll be 50 people who attend a mastermind, 10 love it, get amazing results, 20 think it's okay, 10 are like, and 2 are like such a scam. And I'm like, how you approach it and your mindset of approaching it, you will get something from it. You will get something from it if you approach it. And I always kind of laugh at that. But you've got this growth mindset. I've been watching you grow. You've helped us tremendously. If people want to find you, learn from you, consume you, I know you got some courses. I know you got some consulting. I know you do a whole bunch of stuff, both free and paid. Where can they find you? And we'll drop those links below.
Probably the best place for the book. We'll give them the link for sure to get the free book, the PDF version of the book. It's not the free plus shipping. Trust me, it's not a scam. But yeah. So the free book will be linked over at lucasrubix.com in the show notes here. And the best other place than that to go is lewisryan.com. And yeah, there's testimonials, content, ways to contact me there. So probably a few typos on my About Me page, but yeah, that's just hopefully it'll be cleaned up by then, but that's normal for me at least.
I think dude, I'm the worst speller in the world. And then Sarah, who is not much better than me, I'm just like, hey, could you check this work? And then she does, and she's like, it's great. And then I look at it and I'm just like, whoa, this is like weird. It's just, but it doesn't hold you back from making 40, 50, 100. I've been on websites of $1 million business owners, and it's like the website is a mess, and sometimes there's spelling mistakes. Progress over perfection.
Yeah, kind of like what I was telling you earlier, man. Like I cut off a lot of projects that I had December 19th when I planned this to now. Like I've cut off like 2 big ones because I'm like, that's just not going to move the needle, and it's just not important right now. And if you just progress over perfection, like you said, man, like I know guys who are making $1 million a year, and they're the same age as me, and they don't even have a website.
We are all figuring it out. Even the guys doing $10 million a year, when you get to know them or when you see their day-to-day, they're still figuring it out on a whole different level, but they're still figuring things out.
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much.
Lewis, thank you so much. Show notes, all the links will be below. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next week.
All right, so as always, I just want to finish off the episode with saying thank you for listening. These episodes are 100% free, and they're dedicated to helping you build your coaching business because there are clients out there just waiting for you to reach them. They're waiting for you to give them a result. So do not give up on your dream and never give up on your business. Again, these episodes are 100% free. All I ask in return is that you give it a thumbs up, you give it a like, you give it a little bit of love in the comments or the reviews, and you share it with 1 or 2 coaches who you know could use help building their coaching businesses. That's it. I'm done. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Hey, and don't forget, I have a number of free bonuses for you. These are free templates, guides, and stuff that I've actually included in my recent book, How to Get Your First 100,000 Downloads in 100 Days. But you don't even have to buy the book. I'm just going to give this to you for free. All you have to do is go to LuisRyan, LuisRyan.com/book. There is a simple form where you fill out your name and your email, and you get a ton of free stuff, all the templates and guides that I included in the book, but you don't have to buy the book. So you're saving yourself a chunk of money that literally will take you probably less than 2 minutes to accomplish or perform. So enjoy that. That's my gift to you. Use it. Don't just let it fall by the wayside, and I'll see you on the next episode.